Hey kids, so extra help for Gum 47. Thank you to all of those kids who attended the online Zoom extra help that we had. Today is Thursday. That was a lot of fun. It was great to see your faces again, and I think a lot of kids had some questions about the grammar, and I want to make sure that we go over this Gum 47 so that you do well on it. I'm trying as best as I can to pre-check your gums like I used to. Boy, that sounded gross. Check your gums. To check your gum homework. I'm no dentist, trust me. To check your gum homework, but that's really proving quite a challenge to not only check, but then also grade 140 of these online. So maybe this video will help. So let's take a look at this again. It's the same directions as Gum 45 and 46, so I'm not going to repeat that. Let's take a look at number 1, and we know we're going to continue to do what has always worked for us. We're going to 2 steps. Step 1, find the verb. Step 2, who or what is doing that verb. And the answer to that will be the subject. So our first verb, if we start to look, there we go. We have a linking verb, right? Put our V over it. So who or what was? Well, that's pretty easy because we look right to the left here and we can see we have the relative pronoun which, and that becomes the subject. So now we find our next verb. And our next verb is, look at this one, we've got another was. That's pretty easy. So now we ask ourselves, who or what was amazing? And we have to go all the way over here and we find my birthday party. And that's the subject for this predicate, was amazing. And which is the relative pronoun subject for this predicate, was surprising. Okay? So we have 2 subjects and 2 predicates, which means this could potentially be 2 different kinds of sentences. It could either be compound or complex. Now, I told you that a compound sentence is going to have, let me put this here, a compound sentence is going to have 2 independent clauses, and that's why these 2 arrows look the same, just like 2 independent clauses would be the same. But a complex sentence is going to have 1 independent, okay, and 1 dependent, which is the X in complex. That's our memory trigger there that helps us with that. So if we have 1 dependent and then we glue that together to an independent using commas wherever they touch, what kind of sentence is that, kids? Yes, indeed. That is a complex sentence. But the directions also tell us that we have to underline or highlight each dependent clause. Well, I'm working by hand here. You're going to be working on the computer. Most of you have chosen to highlight, but underlining on the computer is fine too. I'm just going to underline here the dependent clause. Please, when you're sending me these submissions, please send them as Google Docs, Microsoft Word documents, PDFs. Even some of you are doing this copy and paste into an email. That works fine, but photographs is getting just a little bit tricky to grade, kids. So those are the ways that you're going to submit, and that's clearly indicated on my website. All right, let's look at number 2. Okay, my best friend who lives next door visits often and we play together. All right, I've got to find my first verb. That's always step 1. My best friend, who lives, present tense. Okay, there's my verb. Who or what lives? Well, it's got to be who, because that's a relative pronoun. That which who spooked me is a relative pronoun. Okay, now I got to find my next verbs. I found my first subject. Next door, visits, that's an action. Visits, visited, will visit. Okay, put a V over that. Who or what visits often? Well, that's easy. That's my best friend. There's the subject for visits often. All right, are we done? No, we're not done. And we played, will play. Ooh, that tells time. There's a verb, who play. We is the subject. So what happens to we? Play together is the predicate. What happens to who? Lives next door is the predicate. And what happens to my best friend? Well, my best friend visits often. So we have 3 subjects and 3 predicates. We know automatically that this is going to be compound complex. It's the only sentence that has 3 subjects and 3 predicates, but the directions clearly state, right, that we have to underline or highlight each dependent clause. So where's the dependent clause? Oh boy, that's going to be tricky. No, it's not. Dependent clause can start with a subordinating conjunction or, in this case, a relative pronoun. So who lives next door must be the dependent clause. Subject to, lives next door, predicate. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm gonna move on to, you know what? I'm gonna move on to number 4 and 5 really quickly, because these types of questions seem to have gave my students the most trouble. And 4 and 5 look very, very similar. I'm only going over 4, and question 3 I think most kids were comfortable with. So I want to focus on the ones that kids are having the most trouble with. So number 4, step 1, we're not going to change. Do I have a verb? No. Ooh, yes. Was is a helping verb, and waiting is the main verb, right? Step 2, who or what was waiting? My dinner. There's the subject. And what happens to my dinner was waiting. So what do I do with on the table? Well, on the table doesn't have a subject or predicate. So it's some kind of a phrase. It's just a group of related words. It happens to be a prepositional phrase because it begins with the preposition on. So was on the table was waiting? No, the only thing that was waiting is my dinner. So on the table, therefore, has to be part of the predicate. We have one subject and one predicate. The predicate is just split in half. Okay, I could have put this phrase at the end. My dinner was waiting on the table. And that probably wouldn't seem as tricky, would it? All we did was move a prepositional phrase. It doesn't change the basic architecture of the sentence. So one subject, one predicate, we know automatically that is a simple. But take a look at number 5. Step 1, find the verb. As the sun sets, will set. Okay, verb, set. Who or what set? The sun is the subject. As can't set. The only thing that can set is the sun. So what part of speech is as? It's outside of the subject. And it's not and or but. That's correct. It's a subordinating conjunction. And but are coordinating conjunctions, and they behave differently. So subordinating conjunction, we know, is the first word of a dependent clause. But I'm not done. Step 1, where's my next verb? We had headed. Heads, headed, will head. It's got to be headed. Who headed? We is the subject, and headed home is the predicate. What happens to the sun? It's set. So we have one dependent glued to an independent with a comma. What do we call that? Well, if we look back up here, okay, one independent, one dependent, they're going in different directions. This is complex. That's how you do it, kids. I hope that helps. I really want you to do well on this, because as I mentioned all the kids when we were in the extra help session on Zoom today, is the whole point of this. The whole point is that the more familiar you become with these sentence patterns, the more you can use them in your own writing and thus avoid fragments and run-ons. So anyway, kids, have a great day. Good luck with this assignment. If you have any other extra help questions, please feel free to email, okay? Be good, kids.